Hello, welcome to Brap Life. This episode is with my friend Emma. She is a powerhouse rider. She is a racer in a couple different disciplines, and she is a huge supporter of women in riding at any level. She's really great. She is super fun, and we had a really great conversation. We covered so many topics. This one's a little bit longer, but I really hope you guys enjoy it because it was such a fun conversation to just go into it with somebody who I've been kind of stalking on social media for a while now. So I really hope you guys like it. Keep the comments and messages coming because it's so cool to hear how much you guys are resonating with these interviews. So keep letting me know, and thank you again so much for listening. We'll see you next week. Here we are. Welcome to Brap Life.
Yay.
Well, thank you for coming by. This is really cool that we're able to meet up and I finally get to talk to you in person, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Because I've heard so much about you, and so this is really awesome. Like, I'm super stoked to hear your story. So,
Yeah. Thank
yay!
you so much for having me on. When you approached me and asked me, I was like, I am not worthy to be on a
Oh my
podcast. So
god.
I'm very humbled that you would consider me, to have on your show and share my story.
Of course. No, you're awesome. So for those that don't know, Emma's actually a powerhouse rider out in Arizona. And so I've kind of just been following her on social media for a while, and she is friends with my best friend. So I've kind of like been social stalking her for a while. And just
I
seeing
love
like
it.
all this cool stuff she does, all these like races, and so it's really cool to be able to like sit down and talk to you. And so let's hear it. Like, how did you get into riding in the beginning?
Yeah. So the first time I had ever ridden a motorcycle, I was probably like 4. My dad taught me on his 50cc 1970s Indian little yellow bike that
Jeez.
I had, and I loved it. I mean, I do remember like being little and just being like all about bikes. Unfortunately, though, like I didn't continue. So my
Yeah.
family, they were super desert people. I grew up in SoCal. We would go out to like Jawbone um, area and do some just like riding around the campfire, nothing really serious. And then
Mhm.
as I got into middle school, high school, I just played sports. I didn't do any riding. I've always been really athletic. I played like every sport: lacrosse, volleyball, softball, soccer. I mean, I just did everything. But
Wow.
nothing ever really stuck. And so when I went to college, I was like, I want to get a bike. I want to get a dirt bike again. Um, and that was back in well, I was going through college and I was like, I can't afford a dirt bike. So I did get a mountain bike. And
Okay.
I did get a couple mountain bike races under my belt. I was god awful. I was decent at mountain biking, but like my fitness and endurance to ride and race enduros was just not there. I did the Flagstaff Enduro and DNF'd, and I did an enduro in Kingman, Arizona, and barely finished. But there were only 3 women
Wow.
there, so I got a podium. So, um, but yeah, and finally, I think it was 2020 that I was like,
Mhm.
I'm ready. I got my first, I was almost done with college. I think I graduated in 21.
Mhm.
I was like, I'm ready. Like, look, me and my now fiance were like, let's go get bikes. Um, and to back up a step, I did have a 800 GS BMW adventure bike. Um, that I got that in I think 2018 or 2019. So I did
Yeah.
some road riding, did some like very limited dirt riding. We would do just like dirt roads, and I've gotten it stuck in the sand a couple times, like, just silly stuff. It felt cool back then. Looking back, I'm like, wow, I was such a squid. Like I didn't know anything about bikes. But yeah, so fast forward to 2020, I wanted to see more dirt, and the 800 was really prohibitive for like dirt riding and technical riding and obviously
Mhm.
single track. Like you don't see many people taking those big 800s down single track trails. um, So yeah, so sold 800 and I got myself a 2020 WR250F,
Mhm,
which was a great fun little bike. Like our thought was to kind of do two track and explore. I live kind of rural in northern
mhm.
Arizona, and we can just ride from our house and just go see super cool stuff. Nothing too crazy, like technical wise. Um, in hindsight, not technical. I know when I started riding these trails, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. Um, we would just do like a rocky hill climb, and I was like, oh my gosh, Joe, my fiance, I'm like, you're trying to kill me, like, oh. And it just progressed from there. We eventually discovered single track. And we thought we were hot shit. Like, yeah, we could ride these trails. Like, we're so cool. And then I remember distinctly, like, I stumbled across this guy um, on a trail, and he had race numbers on his bike. And I was like, I want to do that. I have always been very competitive, right? So I was like, we got to do this.
Yeah.
And so my fiance kind of like fell out of riding a little bit for a period, and he had eventually gotten a 250 KTM. It was a 2019 250 XCW. Um,
Mhm.
it was a TPI, so pretty mild PDS. And I swung a leg over that and rode with a few of my friends, and they're like, "Oh, like you're actually pretty decent on that two stroke." And so I was like, "Okay." And they're like, "I think if you race, like you would do really well." And so um, I did end up buying myself. I got a 2022 TE 250. So the 250 two-stroke enduro bike with the headlight and everything. And I really progressed on that bike. Like it was just I was so comfortable on the Husky platform. That it was mild enough to where I could really push myself but not kill myself.
Yeah.
Some of the newer two strokes they ride like carbureted bikes and they have nasty power. I'm sure I would have hurt myself on. So oops. It was nice to have that kind of mild power band to really learn on.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I ended up linking up with some of the Arizona girls who were also racing, and I was like, "You guys are the coolest thing in the world!" Like, I was like, "I gotta do this." So I think it was the end of 2021, um, I entered my first race, and it was an AMRA race, so the local state enduro off-road series.
Mhm.
Um, it was a sprint enduro, and I did. I went straight into B class because like I had some experience under my belt. I felt comfortable. I've always been like kind of an aggressive rider and fearless, and so straight into B class. And I think in one of the tests there was only three of us. I think I got first in like one of the tests, but I was just a hot mess. Like otherwise, like zero racecraft, zero intelligence about how to race or what to do with myself. Ended up getting like stuck off trail, and um, a friend's husband stumbled upon me like way off course, stuck, and he's like, "What are you doing?" and pulled me out, and I ended up getting last, but like had a ton of fun, and was just absolutely hooked from there. And so for 2022, I think I had every intention to race the full state series and compete. And I went in pretty strong. I wasn't ever getting first. I was kind of third, I think fourth, not doing super well. A
Mhm.
lot of it was endurance. I would come in really hot and really strong and then just fall on my face completely and like lose. When I'm tired, I have no capability. Like I just can't ride. Um, and that's especially true when you're so new, right? So like I
Yeah.
would I would hit this wall and I'd have no muscle memory to fall back on because I was still pretty new to it. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, I worked through that season, but kind of just fell off. There was a few races that I didn't care to try or they didn't appeal to me, and and then my he was my boyfriend at the time. He was like, I really want to try the National Hare and Hound, and I'm like, okay, we've got a few friends that race it. Sure, why not? I'm like, I'll go with you. I don't know if I'll do it. I was kind of losing passion in racing. Um,
Mhm.
just because I wasn't finding myself yet.
Mhm.
Um, and I was constantly getting my ass whooped. I mean, like just just I'd have good moments, but I just hadn't developed that racecraft yet, and hadn't hadn't
Yeah.
developed the endurance that it needed to actually race dirt bikes. So I really just had thrown myself into the deep end and was trying to like sink or swim at this point. So we showed up to, I think it was 2022. It was the National Hare and Hound round in Nevada in Panaca. And
Okay.
I entered women's B. There was I think 5 or 6 girls, which is cool. The National Hare and Hound always has like a lot of women. Not always, but a lot of times there's like a lot of women. I thought it was super cool. I ended up suffering. It was a that I don't if you don't already know, the Hare and Hounds are like 3 hours of just straight grinding. And so I wasn't used to that. There's no breaks. The pits are timed. It was hot, and I was on my two-stroke that was all set for enduro, not desert. Which the
Mhm.
Hare and Hounds are pretty technical. They have a lot of really rocky sections, but they also have fast whoops. So it's really a mix of everything, and it's really a test of like who's the best overall rider, and who
Yeah.
has good endurance. Um, so yeah, I rolled into the pits on that one at the finish line and ended up in fourth, which there was a one of my Arizona lady friends was in racing in my class, and she totally smoked me. I just remember being glad that I finished. Totally fun day. Um, so yeah, and I was like, yeah, I would do that again. And I think the next one I tried was the Lucerne Valley 100. It's 100 miles
Mhm.
through the desert. I don't remember specifics of it, but I do remember my top speed being somewhere around 80 miles an hour. So like I had grown a lot just between the two. And I was
Yeah.
on my 250 two-stroke that was like totally geared for enduro and not set for speed, so it was very sketchy. Um, and
Oh my lordy.
yeah, so I rolled into the finish and looked up on the scoreboard, and I was in first. So I was like, "Oh my gosh, I cannot believe it!" So that really, and there were things that contributed to it. There was a girl who had broken her foot, and she was still racing. So like I had passed her at some point during the day, and you know some
Jeez.
of the stronger racers weren't there. So like I kind of was like, well, I didn't really earn it. But that was like my first win. It felt really good to finally be there after a year of just trying. And then
Yeah.
I was addicted to the Hare and Hounds. So um, in 2023, I ended up buying a. Let me back up. My fiance had a 350 KTM at this point, an XCF,
Mhm.
and I had a few friends that I was starting to ride with. And they had 350s, and I'm like, what's this thing all about? And so I rode a couple of them, and I was like, I gotta get one. So
Yeah.
I think it was end of 2022 for Christmas. I got myself and my fiance helped, but I got myself a 350 Husky um, FX. So and yeah, I just started racing on that, and it was amazing. I mean, I just clicked with the power band. I clicked with the platform, the bike. I still have it. I'm still running the stock suspension. But anyway, I in the 2023 season, I had ups and downs. I had, you know, the only time I ever lost a race is when I had like a technical problem or a DNF. Like in one of the rounds, I stalled the bike and accidentally killed the battery just because it was so hot and the fan was running. And I was like a mile from the finish. And
What?
yeah, it was very frustrating. I had probably like a 30-minute lead on my class. And I was just sitting at a mile from the finish, and it was super hot. And I was like curl up in a bush trying to like get shade because I was just overheating because I was trying to bump start the bike. It was crazy. So like
Oh my
obviously lost
god.
yeah, obviously lost my position there. But yeah, I was winning like a lot. Like every race, I was winning by a substantial amount of time. I had one more race that I ended up going through water and getting it in my motor, blowing up the bike, and not finishing. But that race that I blew my bike up, it was one of those pivotal moments because I was very far ahead of my class in the first pit. So like I was like, I
Mhm.
know, like I'm making progress. Um,
Yeah.
and I had some drama happen in the pit. Um, I like left without my gas cap. And this is all time, so I'm like freaking out.
Yeah.
And so I turn around, go back through the pits, steal a gas cap off of another bike that was in our camp. And I left the pit with so much like intensity and force, and I was like I kind of was processing it after it happened, but I hit this whoop section like I had never hit whoops before, and they were huge, and
Mhm.
I was like, I just rode those, like what the heck? And then of course 5 miles later I blew my bike up. But anyway, yeah, that was just a really strong season for me. I ended up winning most races and a couple DNFs, but won the season of the National Hare and Hounds B Women. So yeah, it was my first like actual title. It was my first series where I was progressing, I was winning, I was confident in myself, and I just knew I was like, I gotta go to A class now. um, so so that happened. I put red plates on, red and black plates before 2024, just with like a lot of anticipation. Like I'm so ready to go to A class and like get my butt kicked. Um, and I, at the end of 2023, I I went to Mexico to race the Tecate Enduro, and that, if
Uh-huh.
you don't know, is huge. I mean, it's like one of the hardest races in the Southwest, aside from like
Mhm.
maybe Grinding Stone. But a very hard enduro. It's for the men's. It's 90 miles. For women, we only do about 60, and we skip the hardest loop. But it was just huge, and like there's
Oh.
pro women that show up, and um,
Yeah.
you never know who's going to be there. It's just women's class, so it's like there's everyone from pro women to you know not
Yeah.
beginners but C. So it could
Yeah.
it could be anybody. And I just went with a few friends, like, oh, I'm gonna have fun, like I don't care what happens. And um, one of my friends in Arizona, her name's Catalina. She races the Hare and Hound. She raced Takata. She's super fast. Super look up to her. She's young.
Uh-huh.
She's an incredible powerhouse. But she was there at Takata, and uh, yeah, we raced, and I saw her a couple times out there. She had a couple um, unfortunate like obstacles that she got stuck on, just kind of like freak things, and I ended up winning. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I stood on the podium, and they gave me one of those big giant checks, and it had $100, and I was like, this is insane. So that was my first kind of like really pivotal moment. I mean, I'm like, I'm ready to go into A class. I just win this international race, like technically. And
Yeah.
there were, I think there were like 14 women in the class, so definitely a lot of people. Um,
Wow.
yeah, it was super cool. It's just like I look back on that race and just remember it was fun because Max Gerson won that year, so like Arizona came and like showed up, and and I just remember going to the cantina on the property afterwards, and we were all partying and celebrating. It's just like I'm like, man, this is addicting. Um, and then I did a couple. In, I was intending to do the National Hare and Hound and AMRA. I had this like huge
Mhm.
schedule lined up for 2024. Um, I raced rounds 1 and 2 of the AMRA series, which was a GP at the Blythe track. So I was like a little out of my comfort zone. I think I ended up uh, like first and second or something. There
Mhm.
was not a ton of us. Catalina races that, and she had problems, and she would smoke me on a moto track any regular day, but she was having some bike problems. So, I started
Yeah.
off pretty strong for my first time in A class. Raced a Hare and Hound, and struggled. Like I think I was just like nervous for my first A Hare and Hound because in the Hare and Hound, all of the same class skill level starts on the same line, and they drop the flag and they all go at once. So
Yeah.
sometimes it feels like there's 500 bikes on one line, and we all go and funnel down into one little thing. And I made a mistake in the beginning and got stuck behind some slower, the older A guys. and I just had
Mhm.
problems that day. But I ended up getting a podium. I got third place. So like to have a podium for my first national, I was stoked. And it was with two girls that I absolutely love and look up to. And I just was like, it was an amazing, elating feeling, just being up there. But yeah, so fast forward to that was in I think January. Fast forward to February. Amro
Mhm.
puts on the Outlaw Enduro,
Mhm.
and I had, that's always a huge class for the women. Megs Brapp showed up. I think like Hallie Marks was there, and I knew I had a strong chance of like being close to the top.
Yeah.
And I had been racing my 350, so I was very like familiar with the 350. I hadn't really been racing my two stroke, but I, for whatever reason, decided to bring my two stroke because I just had in the past, and I won Takate on that. Um, but yeah, I got 3 miles in, hit a whoop like I was on my four stroke. I ended up being vertical by like the second loop or second whoop. Tried to save it and came down hard, and I broke my scapula and four ribs and had a pneumothorax. So I
My
had a couple nights in the
God.
hospital. Yeah, it was a hard fall. I was only 3 miles in, and I had already passed two guys in front of me. I was like feeling good. I was hauling ass, and I was like, let's go chase these fast girls down. And it didn't go too well. I was out for um 6 weeks until I actually got back on the bike. I was lucky; nothing
Mhm.
was like torn, nothing was completely displaced, or it was just fractures everywhere. Um, but yeah, it was a little hard to come back from. I got on the bike on 6 weeks, and then around 8 weeks, I was like trying to ride again and do trail rides and everything. And I was slower. I was
Mhm.
definitely slower. I mean, you have that like that fear that's like ingrained in your head from that moment.
Yep.
And then of course, like you don't want to fall again and like re-crack your ribs. And
Mhm.
I I had friends like, oh, if you go to this Heron Hound and just trail ride, don't race it, just trail ride it. You could still be in the running for points. Like it's possible. I don't know, like I haven't ridden in this amount of time, like my muscles are all atrophied, like I don't think so. I didn't do that. I was gonna
Yeah.
try to race an AMRA race, but it ended up being really hot, and I did a lap, but then pulled out for safety reasons because I was like, I don't want to hurt myself again. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was kind of like this year had gone down the trash. But it was okay. I mean, I was at peace with it. Everything happens for a reason, right? I
Yep.
just started working hard again, started chasing my fast guy friends down, and um, a few of them were like, "I think you're faster, like that you were." And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no." um, but I think they might be right. I went to Colorado and raced in San Isabel. I think there was like 8 or 9 ladies in my class. Got first
Mhm.
by 30 seconds. um,
Nice.
Yeah, and that I was so elated. Like it was just a beautiful. I had never ridden in Colorado before, so I was like, "Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, like this is beautiful. This is like the most fun I've ever had." Um, and then I raced the local Kelly Canyon Enduro, got first.
Mhm.
Um, what else? And then I went and raced Chimney Rock. I was solo in my class, and it totally whooped my ass. It was just very technical, and I was tired going into it, and it was a long. It took me like 5 hours to finish the day, 80 miles or so, and I was just super tired. So I just basically putted the whole way, and probably would have lost if I were competing against anybody. But I was just happy to be there and happy to finish. So that's kind of where we're at today. I mean, I've got a lot of history of successful races and wins. I tend to be better at the enduros because sometimes my endurance gets the best of me. But um, yeah, I'm still figuring it out. Like as far as racing and riding together, like I don't have a ton of history under my belt, um, but I've been lucky enough to ride with people who really know what they're doing and have really coached me through um, this progression and helped me get to where I am today. So I know, yeah, I'm just addicted. Like I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. I just signed up for this year's Takate. That's gonna happen in early December.
So
So
that sold out super quickly.
yes, 35 minutes, I think. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, and I signed
yeah,
up at 6:02, and then my fiance signed up at 6:05, so we got in.
you got it. Yeah, so this is hilarious. Leah was trying to get me to sign up for that. And
Yeah,
she's
it's
like, "Oh
fun.
yeah, it's not a really hard race at all." And like I have very, very little racing experience, like
Sure.
very little. Um, And she's like, "Yeah, it's not bad at all. There's like a couple small rock sections, but it's like it's totally fine. Like you totally got this." And I was gonna do it until I had some issues this last week and I had to pay for parts for my bike. And I was like, "Oh, like right
Oh,
now, I just like I can't, you know." Now that you're talking about this, I'm like, dude, I'm so glad I did it.
it's
But
so
I'm
she
probably gonna
has a good
go.
point. Are you gonna go?
I think I'm gonna go. I'm just not gonna race, but
I think you could do it, and here's why I say that. I know girls who race in C class and do it, and they
Mhm.
just have fun with it. And from what I've heard, every other year they kind of like alternate race course, and like this year is supposed to be a little bit faster and flowier. Um, but then the women only do the first two laps, and the first two laps they're long and they're rocky. Like it's not easy by any means, but you're
Mhm.
not doing hard enduro out there. Like you would be fine. It's all doable. Nothing was technical to the point to where it was like, oh my gosh, like that's high consequence if I don't do it right. Or and I had a
Yeah.
few like mishaps. Like there was one when I was trying to pass people. I went up the rock like the wrong way and just got stuck in a weird spot. But yeah, no, it's totally doable. And if you can do it next year, you should. Um, and if you're even like if you're inclined to maybe do it this year, get on the waiting list. Like those it some of those spots open up and like you never know, you could get in and it's fun.
Oh man.
Just send them an email, say put me on that waiting list.
Like, the idea of it sounds so cool, but,
It is.
like, I just oh, man.
I get it.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yep.
But, we'll revisit that one in a little bit.
I'm gonna talk you into
Uh,
it.
I feel like I'm not that hard to talk into stuff like that because my thing is that I try. Like, I'm not gonna do great. I know I'm not gonna win. Um, but I'm still gonna try. Like I like to have the experience. And like
Yeah,
I actually last so not this year, but 2023, I went to Arizona. I had done two enduros in Minnesota when I was living there. And I wanted to do a hair scramble. And I happened to be talking about going to Arizona in March anyway. And then I saw that there was the Copper Classic. And I was like, hey, that looks really cool. So I told my friend, I was like, hey, I think I'm going to do this. Like, do you think I could do a hair scramble? Like, I DNF'd well, at that point, I had only done one enduro. And my bike just was not, I was brand new. I was
yeah.
not meant
I've been
to
there.
be doing that on a TTR 125.
Oh my goodness.
It was not going to work out. um, but yeah, so I was like, "You think I could do this? Like, I think I'm gonna try and figure it out." And she's like, "Yeah, I'll go with you." So we went out to Arizona from Minnesota and we raced it. And um, I got like third from last, but I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't get last. But yeah,
All
that's
that
pretty much
matters
my
is you showed
experience.
up.
And that's the thing. I really
Yeah,
liked it. I wanted to try hair scramble because it's different from an enduro. I had
sure.
done the one enduro. I did a second enduro last year, again, still on the TTR. Um, and it did not go well. There was a lot of factors to it, but essentially my clutch was fried. So because
That's a
I did
hard
the
bike to
Jarvis
race an
clinic.
enduro on.
Well, yeah, and I did the Jarvis clinic the day before. So like my clutch was just gone.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Yeah, those poor
um
TTRs are not meant to do clutch work.
no. Mm-mm. Nope, my hand was dead. I was
Yep.
just like It
Mhm.
was just all around not a good experience.
I I
The
love
clinic
that. I love
was,
that.
but the clinic was great. It was just the enduro afterwards that was not a good experience for me. Um, but, like, I also came across a kid who was, like, injured, and I was, like, trying to help with him
Yeah.
and get the
Yep.
paramedics to him and stuff, so, there was, like, a lot of factors. That was kind of my excuse. I was like, "Oh, thank God. I have a reason to stop."
Yeah, I've
I was in
definitely
so much
been in
pain.
races before like that where it's like, can I just like have an excuse to not, finish this?
Yeah.
And I always joke about my February incident. I was like, yeah, I really just didn't want to race, so I just rather would have hurt myself.
You just she's gonna be out for the next few months just because
Yep,
I
yeah,
didn't wanna do that one
yeah,
race.
just take a little break. But yeah, no, I have a bad track record with that. Outlaw enduro. The first year I DNF'd. The second year I had like stomach flu and a sinus infection and ended up getting second in women's B. And then yeah, this last year obviously didn't go so well.
Good lord, man, that's crazy. No,
So
the
hopefully
I
next year.
that's insane. That's intense. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. The racing is hard.
It's hard, but the way
I
I look at it is it pushes me to want to be better and like I have a reason, you know, t- to keep myself in shape, to keep myself healthy. Like I enjoy the
yeah.
competition part of it. Um,
Yeah.
I enjoy trail riding and going fast and doing technical stuff and the growth, but like the ultimate test is the race. Like how are you going to stack up to other people? And
Yeah.
for me, the ultimate goal is like I don't want to just be fast for a girl. Like I want to beat my guy friends too.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's the best kind of motivation though, because like, especially because it is so male dominated, a lot of the times we're riding with guys. And so, like, I was telling my friend and I were riding last weekend, and she's like, these guys are constantly underestimating us. To be fair, she and I rode for the first time last weekend. Like, we had never ridden together before. And so, like, we didn't really know each other's abilities, but she's from Colorado. And so, like, I've seen some of the stuff that she's gone through, like in her
Yeah.
pictures and stuff. I'm like, dude, you're gnarly.
Yep.
And so she was like, these guys were underestimating us, which is like, it's fine. You know, people see two small girls and they're just like, oh, hey, wonder
Yep.
what they can do. They can't, they
Yeah.
probably, they're probably going to need help with this and that and
Yep.
whatever. And it was just kind of cool that they kept being like, "Oh, okay, you got up that no problem. All
Yeah.
right." And
I
we're like,
think
"Yeah,
I think that's such a rewarding feeling is to like approach something where there's a guy like sitting there or whatever, expecting you not to make it, right? And then you
yeah."
do it and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know that was possible." Like for a dick to make it up this and it's like I love proving people wrong. Like, if somebody's going to
Yeah,
doubt you, like the best satisfaction is to be like, "Watch this," and then just do it. And
yeah.
we all have
I
our
always
fails.
Oh, for sure. I ride a bike that's way too big for me, so like I fail a lot. But um like I am new to this whole confidence thing, but being on my bike, I have so much confidence. It's stupid. Like I
Yep.
have way more confidence than I should for my skill level. But
No, that is
it's
so good because as and I do teach women every once in a while, like especially
mm,
beginner women who are like, I have never ridden a bike before. I want to learn, so I'll teach them. And I'm always like,
yeah,
your mindset and your confidence is what's going to propel you through this. Because there's so many
yeah,
women who have the finesse, they have the technique, they have the skill, but their minds are holding them back because they're like, well, what if, or, what if I'm going fast and like, I don't do it right or something. And it's like, no, just like believe in yourself and it'll really, I mean, it's huge for progression.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like I said, when I'm on the bike, like it's different and I'll look at something and I'm like, "Oh my god, that's kind of sketchy." But a lot of the times it's like it's like this situation where somebody's with me and they're like, "Dude, you totally got this. Like you can do it. You can do it." And I'm like, "All right, cool, I can do it."
Yeah. And
Or sometimes they're like, "Well, go ahead."
I was just going to say like, I, I have always tried to be that role model for other women because,
Yeah.
whenever I would see a girl do an obstacle that I was afraid of, I'm like, oh my gosh, like she's a girl boss. Like I can do that too. So it's just
Yeah.
propelled me to a whole new level. And so I'm like, I just want to
Yep.
be that role model for other girls who are like, well, I don't know if I can do that. I'm like, you can't. Like girls can do
Yeah.
anything the guys can do. We just got to like believe in
Oh, for
ourselves.
sure. For sure. Yeah, and I do actually want to get into hard enduro. That's my goal for this year is to
Nice.
do a hard enduro race, and like it's scary, but that's what I've wanted to do for like ever. I don't know. Before I even had a bike, I wanted to ride it. Like I would watch it on like Erzberg or Romaniacs or whatever, and I'd be like, dude, that'd be so cool. Like I want to be able to do it. Like how amazing would it be to just be able to ride like that? And even half as good as what, you see on, YouTube or whatever. And now I have this drive to just try and push myself really hard. And in the last 4 or 5 months, I've really come a long way in my riding just because I do push so hard. And I have done some really hard things on the bike, and it's really, really cool to do that. And these women, talk to me and they're just like, "Oh, well, I don't know if I could ever do that trail because I've heard it's really bad." And I'm like, "Just try it. Like, what's the worst that could happen?" And, I've had people come out riding with me, and I don't like I travel a lot, so I don't always know people in the areas that I'm in. So I really don't care who I ride with. I will ride super slow with the newbies, and I will attempt to keep up with whoever's fast.
Heck yeah.
Like
That's
I
I'm
will
the
do
same
my
way.
best. Like,
Yeah.
but I still struggle. I still have these moments. And the thing is that if I can do what I've done on a bike, literally anyone can, because I didn't grow up like this. Like I
Yep.
didn't grow up doing sports. I didn't grow up riding bicycles and or dirt bikes or anything. I didn't get into any of this until I was like way later in life. So it's it's all still very new for me. And the fact that I can progress this quickly, like I have like no hand-eye coordination. Like all my life I was always told like you're never going to be an athlete, like you're not like you're super clumsy, like you're all of these things. And like now I'm proving all of that wrong. It's like you said, like I kind of like decided to do this traveling thing and be out in the world, and like I decided that dirt bikes was going to be like what I do. Like that's me. I
That's so
love being on
cool.
my bike, and I'm going to do what I can to be the best that I can at it because that's what makes me happy. And I'm not going to go pro, like I don't have any kind of like thing in my head to say that I'm going to be at that kind of level, but I can still work to get to a new level, and I can still keep pushing myself because I do have a lot to learn and I like learning, so it works
I'm
out.
I'm so on the same page with you on that. Like I love the like you got to learn to fall in love with the process almost, you know.
Mhm.
And like when I first started, I was so eager. Like I'm like I want results now, you know. Like I first
Yeah.
started racing and was absolutely getting stepped on, and I was like, it sucks, you know. It's not fun losing. Like I'm competitive, but
Yeah.
falling in love with the process was almost like more rewarding than the results that I've been seeing. And so I
Mhm.
think keeping that mindset for myself and then for you, like that's it's just gonna the sky's the limit. Like, and I know you say, oh, you know, I'm not gonna go pro, but like you never know. Like it's there's people racing well into their 50s, 60s that are constantly getting better. And I think, you know, if my guy
Yeah.
friends do it, like I want to do that too. I mean, imagine how good it is for your mind and your body to have that constant pursuit of getting better. Like
Mhm.
that to me is unmatched. And I'm so glad you see it
Yeah.
the same way because it's like, I always am telling people, I'm like, you know, you're feeling down, go ride your bike. Like it doesn't even have to be a dirt bike. Like go grind up a hill on a pedal bike and then fly
Yeah.
down. And you're gonna have so much fun that like it's just gonna be it's so enriching to life.
Mhm. It is. It is. And like I don't have a bicycle, but I do run. And so that's my other outlet. It's between running and riding. And I just love hard things. Like that's what I keep saying. I'm like, I do hard things for fun. And like part of it is because I have this drive because I wasn't this person 2 years ago. It's been a complete and total mindset change for me. And it's not easy at all.
No.
It took a lot of discipline because it's a lot of hard work. And I put a lot into both my running and my riding, and I I've always been somebody who wants to learn more, and now I wanna learn and do. So,
I
like,
love it.
that's just I have a growth mindset now, like, I just wanna keep growing and keep leveling up and just
Yep.
keep getting better, and I don't think that that's ever gonna change, thankfully.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Um,
And I mean, it just
but
drives
I
everything in life, right? Like, I always like,
yeah,
if you're having a bad day at work and you're like, oh, and I love my job, like, I'm happy where I'm at, but those bad days happen, then you remind yourself, like, what's this all for? Like it's for play. Like I'm all about work play balance. And so
yeah,
if I can't pursue something like racing or getting faster or learning a new skill on the bike, then like what's the point? And I know
yeah,
it's not that simple, but that is a huge part of like the why for me. It's like,
yeah,
why do we do this
yeah.
day to day?
That's awesome. Yeah, I think I've had this conversation with several people now that your mindset that you get from riding in general, being on a dirt bike, you have to have a certain set of resilience, right? Like, or a certain
Yes.
point of resilience, like, and that helps you with every aspect of your life. Um, a friend of mine's been talking to me. His 3-year-old is like starting to do hard enduro on his little teeny tiny bike. And this kid goes through like enduro cross sections and like rock gardens. And he is gonna be just this beast when he gets on
Yeah.
a 50 even. He's already doing hard enduro at 3 years old. Like, what kind of resilience is this kid gonna have though? Like I'm watching these videos of him, fall over and pick up his bike, and like he just knows just like, all right, you just gotta keep going, you just gotta keep
Yeah.
trying. And he's at 3 years old. Like most 3-year olds aren't doing stuff like that.
I've got a friend up here with a 3-year-old who's riding a trials bike and doing jumps and I'm like, 3 years old? What? So, yeah, same concept, right? But yeah, it amazes me the future generation of dirt bikers are going to be
Hmm.
insane. I mean, they're starting so young now. And yeah,
Yeah.
I got on a bike when I was about 4, but I wasn't doing what these kids are doing now. And they're living on these strider bikes and they're almost like
Yeah.
conditioned to 2 wheels, like it's an extension of themselves. And I think that's
Yep.
just my moto friends are the greatest parents because their kids are all little rippers.
I think that's so cool. I love seeing it, and like I love the off-road community. It's just so family oriented, and like it's really cool to see. And I have more experience now with hard enduro than anything else, being around that. Uh, but but it's all so much family. It's your parents, siblings, grandma and grandpa on many occasions have been out there, and grandma's trying to hike into the woods to go to this really cool section. It's just like, I heard it was going to be really fun. And like
That's so cool.
that's so awesome to me.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
that the whole
W-
family can be involved.
Without dirt biking, I and racing, I would not know so many amazing, enriching people in my life. And
Mhm.
I just think about that sometimes. Like, not only does this provide me with a great way to exercise because it's actually fun, um,
Yeah.
but and also, a great place to strengthen my mental state, but it also provides me like-minded people who are searching for the same things, like they do dirt biking for the most part for the same reasons that you and I do. And so to
Yeah.
surround yourself with so many cool people and then you become a part of their family and it's just like this it's just so cool. Like I don't even have words to describe how awesome it is. And just like the things
Yeah.
that these people will do for you, like like I'll meet people, don't even know them, and they will give you the shirt off their back if you're struggling in a
Oh
race.
my
Like
god.
it's so
Yeah.
cool. So
Yeah. Like, when my TTR blew up last year at the Jarvis Clinic, like I said, the enduro, and I had met all these people, and they were so cool, and, they're like, "Well, you should come and ride with us next weekend." I was like, "My bike's blown up, like, I can't turn around that quickly, like, and fix it," and I was living in North Dakota at the time, and this was all happening in Minnesota, so I had a 9-hour drive to get back, and then once I got back, I had to, like, find a dealer, which was 2 hours away, and then find time to go there to go get the part or order the part because I think they didn't have it in stock, and it was just gonna be this long thing, and I was like, "I don't think it's gonna happen by next weekend." And they're like, "Well, you can just borrow one of our bikes." And I was like, "I ride a TTR.
mhm.
The shortest bike anyone has in that group is a slightly lowered KTM 150." And I was like, "That's still gonna be too big." And they're like, "Okay, well, you can ride a big bike." And I was like, "I can't reach the ground." And they were like, "No, it's totally fine. Like, you can drop it. Like, it's not a big deal." I was like, "Dude, it's gonna be on the ground all the time." They're like, "No, it's fine." Like, I didn't know these guys very long, and I got to ride the KTM, and then I rode an X Trainer, and I rode like a KTM 105. Like, that weekend, I rode like 3 or 4 people's different bikes. Like,
I love that.
I was like,
Yeah.
nobody really knows me. Like,
And
that's
there's
a
just this
bikes are
inherent
expensive.
trust. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No kidding.
I was like, it was crazy, but it was
That's super
so cool.
cool.
And that was like the beginning of my whole experience with dirt bikes just changing. And it's like you said, everybody is just like looking out for you. And that's when I
Yeah.
started to have really, really good experiences with people in the community. And I was just blown away by it. Like,
Yeah.
it was insane. And right around that same time, I started to kind of like be on social media a little bit more, and I started to find different women's pages. And that has been its own thing of just awesomeness because it's really, really cool to see, Graham Jarvis and Cody Webb and Tristan Hart do their thing. It's freaking awesome. Y'all are amazing. But it's really freaking cool to be a girl and see other girls do that stuff
Yeah.
and see these amazing women like do some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Louise Forsley is one of my idols. I mean, she just makes hard
yeah.
enduro look like cake, and she does it with so much finesse and beauty, and I'm like, "Man, that is so cool." It is just so much cooler when
Yeah.
you're watching a girl do it as a girl, like there's plenty of guys who are amazing riders, and I love them. But yeah, when a girl is out there competing and arguably being better than a lot of the guys, it's just the coolest thing.
Yeah. Well, even just like putting herself out there because we all know how social media can go. Like, you put something out there on social media, especially as a female on a
Yeah.
dirt bike, you're going to get some comments.
Mhm.
And to open yourself up to that and not care, or at least, still continue to do it just to inspire other women and just to make sure that other women see realness and that it's okay to not be perfect and it's okay to fall
Yes.
and it's okay to celebrate your wins with your friends, like that, just showing it all. I think that's so awesome because we do open ourselves up to ridicule every single time that we post. Like,
Yeah.
I've gotten some weird messages where I'm just like, why do people feel it's okay to say that?
Yeah.
Um but seeing amazing women, that's why I said, like, you're like a powerhouse. Like, you're a really, really great writer. And then you're also so supportive of women and you do all these women's events and stuff. And that's kind of what caught my eye too. Like, before Leah actually told me that you guys were friends, I was
Yeah.
like already following you. And so it
Love
was
it.
kind of cool. I was like, hey, I know who that is because I love that. I absolutely love to see women who are succeeding, but then also women who are basically turning around and helping pull other women up.
Yeah.
And
And it has
that's the
always been
coolest
my
thing to me.
goal. It has always been my goal to be that. Like I don't see myself as this like idol for people to like look up to and worship. I just want to like be a part of the community, you know? Like I never want it to be like here's me and then everyone else is below me. You know, like I don't care what level you're at. If you're a woman
Yeah.
who's pursuing this sport, like I want to be your friend. Like this is like
Yeah.
the best community I've been a part of. And so when I do put my women's rides on, I actually like to to lead the like the C rides or the beginner rides because it's like I want to expose myself to people who are new to this sport and maybe haven't been exposed to other women riders and they don't really know like what it's like. And I'm like, look, you can take this as far as you want to. Like you
Yeah.
can take this well beyond where I'm at. You know, you could take this to pro level if you really wanted to, if you really had the drive and the passion and the time and commitment. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but
Yeah.
like it's achievable. Or you could
Yeah.
be casual like I am. I mean, I obviously race and I obviously compete, but like I'm not a pro. Like I'm not trying to put myself at that level. You know, you never know what's going to happen. Maybe if I do keep on this progression path, you never know. But like I'm just here to have fun. I'm here to build the community and be a part of it, and yeah, just be there. And that's another thing. I've been a tomboy my whole life. Like even when I
Yep.
wasn't racing dirt bikes. Um,
Yep.
so like as a young impressionable kid with not a lot of like female role models that I knew of, obviously, you know, like I
Yeah.
just was like, what's out there for me as a tomboy who's into this kind of stuff? So I always want to promote that so that other girls who were like me when they were growing up can have like the idea that, oh, okay, like there's a space for me, you know, like I'm not just
Yeah.
weird. Because I always thought I was just weird and different and didn't fit in. But like in hindsight, there were other girls like me out there. I just didn't know about
Yeah.
them. So in the
Yeah.
modern world of social media and everything being on the internet and exposed to the public, I just want to be that like presence.
Yeah. I think it's really cool because I was the same way. Like I grew up a tomboy and, it was just I didn't have anything like this. But now it's crazy because like I feel like when I first started kind of getting into like watching hard enduro and like my friends would ride and my ex-husband would ride and stuff and I just didn't have time to practice or anything. There was hardly ever any women around. And I never saw other women riding and it was just like it kind of sucked. I was like, I want to see more women do this. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and in the last like we'll say like 3 4 years it's grown so much and there's so many women and it's so cool because every single one of them that I've met in the last like 4 or 5 months is just like so down to earth and so awesome and it's just I'm able to have these really cool conversations and it it's a total spectrum of women of it's not just the tomboys anymore who are out there doing
Yeah.
this. Like, it is so cool to me that there are women out there who are, like, in a full face of makeup, and they still look cute riding in, like, tutus and stuff, like, I don't have
I
the
love it.
confidence for that, like, that's not my style, but I still think it's really cool because that means that the community has grown enough that women feel comfortable to be themselves in this space. And
Right.
that is so important for this community to grow more because
Yes.
it can't grow if we keep it so niche. If it's
Sure.
just one type of girl and we're totally gatekeepy about it, like that's never going to help anything. And then what happens if we don't grow? Like there's less events for us to go to, there's less people to ride with, there's less places to ride, whereas everything's the opposite if we have more people. Obviously, to an extent, because you don't want everyone in the world to be out riding, because then you'll never get to ride good trails.
Yeah.
But, like,
But there's gotta be a
that
space for the girls. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, and we're not nowhere near that point. So,
No.
like, everybody just come and ride right now. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Um,
And
but yeah, it's go ahead.
society makes it so easy to like pit women against each other. And I've
Yes.
always hated that. Like, I don't care if
Mhm.
you love to do your makeup, if you're all about your image, like as long as you're a cool person, like if that's great. And so
Yeah.
like you said, I mean, that's an excellent point. Like dirt biking is not exclusive to like the type of person. And
Yeah.
I'll even extend it to like dirt biking girlfriends. Like my guy friends, I've gotten to meet their girlfriends and their wives who aren't into riding, but like they know about the culture, they know about the sport. And maybe,
Yes.
there's all sorts of women in that category too, but it's like it's just building that community and
Yeah.
expanding like support for each other. I think it's the coolest thing.
Yeah. I so I recently had an incident, and it's funny that you brought up the girlfriends who don't ride and stuff. Where there was a wife who was very upset that I was riding with her husband. And I was like, dude, we legitimately spent all day clearing trail after the hurricane. And so we're like
Oh,
clearing trails out, and we rode for like an hour afterwards, and I posted some stuff online and like, of the hill climb that I was doing because I thought it was badass that I got to do this freaking hill climb. And I didn't think anything of it, but she was really upset. And I was like, "Girl, I am not that person. Like, I want nothing but the best for every woman I come in contact with. Like, I truly it's not even just dirt bikes. Like, I have no ill will towards any woman.
yeah.
I had my ex-husband's girlfriend reached out to me like a month ago,
Oh,
and most people would have been like super catty and just like I legitimately have no problem. Like I want what is best for her. She wanted to talk, so we talked. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, I hope you have a really good day. Whatever.
that's awesome.
Have a good life. But like, she didn't
Yep.
really want to talk anymore after that. And I was like, that's fine. Whatever. If you didn't want to talk again, I'm here. And I don't have that in me because all that does is it poisons me. Like, it
Right.
doesn't do anything to them. It doesn't help me in any way. It doesn't help me get through anything. So I don't care. Like,
Yeah. That's
I just
awesome.
want I feel good when I'm on my bike, and I feel just like every amazing feeling you could ever feel when I'm on that bike. If I could
Yep.
bottle that and give it to people, I totally would, but I can't. So the only
Yep.
thing I can do is I can smile at people, I can be nice to them, like, and even when they're mean to me, like, just not turn around and throw it back in their face.
Yeah.
Just give people the benefit of the doubt because I think
Yep.
that, there is sometimes, I mean, it happens when you have a small group of people can get like, I don't know what the right word is, but I guess like tension can happen, right?
Yep.
And so when that happens, it's bound to happen at some point, but just don't let it be crazy. And
Yeah.
like,
Like we're all human. Like it's gonna happen. Just let it happen.
exactly.
Yep.
Exactly, and try and get through it, and
Yep.
like I said, give people the benefit of the doubt, and that's great, and if they don't wanna work with you, that's fine too, but I'm not the kind of person who's gonna go and, like, make it worse. I'm just gonna be like, "Alright, cool. I'm gonna be over here riding my bike and just do my thing." But, like, and some women have never been exposed to that,
Yeah.
is what I'm finding.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
women were always taught that women are competition. And
Yeah.
so in this space, they've found 1 or 2 people that they vibe with, and they're like, "Okay, cool, but, like, just our little group." And it's like, "No, like, I mean, our group is cool, but, like, let's expand that." Like, what
For
if you
sure.
meet instead of just the 3 of us, there's now 6 of us, and you don't have to just wait for me to not be at work. You can now go with her because you guys have the same schedule. And, like, there's just I see no negatives to it.
I think it's
That's
so
just me.
funny. Yeah. I think it's so funny that you brought up like the gal who had an issue with you riding with her husband. And it's like,
Oh, yeah.
when I'm riding, like, I'm not thinking about your guy. Like, I'm thinking about me and my
Dude,
bike. And I'm not
yeah.
like, like, my guy friends are like, brothers to me. Like that is the
Yeah.
last thing that would ever even cross my mind. And obviously, like I'm in a long-term relationship, so that's a factor too. But it's like it's so funny because we're all like suffering through the gnarly trail ride. Like we're not thinking about ill intentions. So
Yeah. Well, and I think that's part of it though, is that some women, like you said, some women are just starting to come into this, like their boyfriends just started riding or they just started dating somebody. So they're just starting to be around this and they don't understand that. And
yeah,
so I had this other guy who kind of lives around here. I reached out to him. He asked for people to ride with. And I was like, hey, cool. Like, we've been talking about it. And I was like, hey, your wife knows that you're going to come riding with me, right? Like, does she have a Facebook though? Like, can I add her? Like, how can I make your wife feel comfortable about this? Because this is a lesson for me. Like, I
yeah,
haven't had this come up to this extent before. I've had like guys who I've been friends with for a long time started riding at the same time I did, and their girlfriends were kind of like, "Ah, I don't like the fact that you're spending time together." But like, again, it was just like a learning lesson. But this is the first time that I've had somebody like really go this crazy.
yeah.
And,
That's a
like
bummer.
I said, it's just a lesson about, like, how I need to be more aware that not everybody is confident in their relationships, and so now I just, like now that's, like, my instant thing, and I was like, "Your
Yeah,
wife is cool with this, right?" But she's
yeah,
probably gonna come out with us, which would be really cool
yeah,
because he's like, "Hey, she has some questions for you about women riding," and I'm like, "Cool." Like,
yeah.
I'm so down for this, like, so
I always,
I try. Go ahead.
sorry. um,
You're good.
yeah, I'm pretty fortunate. Like I haven't had any weird like interactions. Like most of the guys that I ride with on a regular basis, their wives all like know me anyway.
Yeah.
But I do try to look at it like anytime I usually don't offer to guys that I don't know, like, hey, let's go ride together, just to avoid
Yeah.
that. Because you never know, like from the wife girlfriend's perspective, like, oh, you're just gonna go spend 4 hours alone with some chick in the desert, like by yourselves. What? So
Yeah.
I get that. And yeah, I'm fortunate to not really have to. I don't put
Yeah,
myself
and
in those positions, and it's not like
and that's yep.
it's not like, I'm out there like, "Oh, yes, I'm just, like, stealing everyone's partners." I think that's so silly. Um,
Yeah.
Because I truly am I'm in it for the sport. Like, obviously, I love my
Yeah.
guy friends, and I do pursue riding with the guys because they are faster, and they have gotten me to where I'm at today, so like,
Yeah.
that's the huge part of it, but yeah, I'm always when I do meet a guy and he's got a girlfriend or whatever, I'm like, "Hey, I'll teach you how to ride, like, you should come ride with me
Yeah.
sometime." So I try to just bridge that gap there, cause and not
Yeah.
only, like, just to say it and just to break the ice, but, like, I mean it, like, if you're a girl and your guy rides, you should be riding too. Cause 1, you can spend so much more time with him, and
Mhm.
2, like, you're missing out.
Oh my god, totally, and I keep telling these women that I meet, like, it's so confidence building. Like, you can think you have confidence, and then you ride a dirt bike, and then it just builds more confidence. At least for me, it does. Maybe it wouldn't for everybody, but, I was somebody with super, super low confidence and just, like, severe anxiety, and I was like I said, I was totally not the person that I am right now. This was 2 years ago, I wouldn't even have spoken to you because, like, even messaging people online is something I didn't have confidence for until a few months back. Like, I was just like, "Oh, nobody wants to hear from me, like, nobody cares," like, that sort of thing, but now I'm like, "No, like, it's just cool," like, it's building, building up the community, it's building a rapport with people, and, like, I think it's really cool that, like, everybody I've reached out to so far, not even just for the podcast, but just in general, um, everybody's super nice and,
Yeah,
like, nobody's a dick, and I love that, but,
yeah,
um, it is it there's a lot of people in this community, and I study psychology for fun because I'm weird, and,
that's awesome.
I really have gotten so into writing that I kind of lost track of the psychology side of things, and putting myself in other people's shoes as much. So in this specific instance, like I don't have I travel so much that I don't really have the advantage of having a group of friends that I ride with all the time. I have a group here and I'm able to have this group, but I leave in 2 weeks and then I'm going to be in a totally new place. And then, so it's really hard because then I have to start all over again and start with a new
Yeah.
group. And if there's girlfriends and wives and fiancés, I need to really think about it and think about how to make them comfortable. Like you said, try and offer to, I mean, I want every woman to ride. Like I said, I think it builds confidence. I think it'd be really cool. I love ladies rides. They're like my favorite.
For
Not that I
real.
have anything
Yeah.
against my guy friends because like you said, it's awesome to get pushed for that, but there's just this different atmosphere around women only rides that's
Yep.
just like, I don't know,
It
it's
nothing
so
beats
fun.
it. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
And I
And
rarely have an all women's ride. So like the few
yeah.
times a year, which I do every year, like I'll do a set all chicks ride, and it's like, man, that was so fun. Like we're all afterwards like, this is so cool. This is unmatched.
Well, I
Seriously.
think it's just like guys, right? Like guys love to hang out and like go out and do stuff with their guy friends. And like they might have an amazing girlfriend or wife or whatever, but having time with just your dudes is awesome and
Yeah.
it's great.
Yep.
And so that's like basically for us. Like when we get
Yeah.
to have our ladies rides, it's not because we're trying not to have guys around. It's just like we're trying to find that same like it's a mini community for that time.
Yep.
But like I want more women to be able to feel that and feel how positive it can be because we do have so much negative associated with like groups of women.
Yeah.
Women are supposed to be catty and all of this stuff and it doesn't always have to be like that. So um I'm super excited for this ladies ride that I have to go to in Arizona and it's just going to be so cool cuz I don't know, I think I know one of the ladies who was going
You're
and
gonna
that's
love it.
it. So, but yeah, it's gonna be super awesome. I'm super stoked, and I'm from Arizona, but I haven't really ridden a ton there because I didn't get into riding until after I left the last time, and so it's just, you know, it's like finding a whole new community in a place that I call home. So it's
Yeah.
it's cool, but I I'm really just excited to kind of get back home, go to the
Yeah,
desert.
I totally get you. I mean, I love this state. Arizona is just a cool, diverse state in terms of geography and what there is to
Mhm.
do. And you're also really central to a lot of like really cool places. Like I can
Yeah.
pop up to Colorado or over to California or up to Utah, and we have like world class dirt biking trails. So I think,
Yeah.
yeah, this location plus year round riding, awesome. Like
Yeah.
you can't beat that. So I do love this
Exactly.
state. We have a awesome presence of women who ride here at all levels. At my last two annual women's ride, I had 30 to 40 women show up. So that's just incredible. That's an incredible feeling to know that, you put that on and that many girls cared to show up and be a part of the
Yeah.
community. So, and that's what you're in for in November. So, I'm really excited for you to meet all the people that go to these and put them on. It's just such a cool community. And it's so cool to see that
Mhm.
there's communities like this popping up all over the country. Like I'm seeing,
Yeah.
like there's a Colorado women's group, there's a Southern California women's group, there's a Pacific
Mhm.
Northwest women's group, and they're all
Yep.
huge like this. And I'm like, this is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely love it. Somebody just started a group on Facebook for the Appalachian area or Appalachian, sorry.
Yes.
Um, and so an Appalachian group for women, and so that just started on Facebook like 2 days ago.
Love
And
it.
so like I'm super excited though, because that's been a really hard thing is like there's how many different dirt biking groups. Like there's out here, I think I belong to like 5 for this area alone.
Oh wow.
And so trying to get to every single one to try and find women in every single one to ride with, it's kind of hard. But
Yep.
this lady is really taking all the hard work out of it for me. So she started this
Yep.
group and it's already starting to grow. It's really cool how quickly it's getting traction. But yeah, the Pacific Northwest, that Northwest Woods women, oh my
Yes.
goodness, that was the first group that I belonged to. That was like a women specific group. And just the amazing people that I started following in there were just so inspiring. And seeing the things that those women ride,
I
they
was gonna
ride some
say there's some
super gnarly stuff.
yeah. If you wanna talk about powerhouses, there's some powerhouses up in that group that
Hmm.
I've seen, so I love to see it,
Yeah.
yeah. And I always try to say, like, if there's no women's group in your area, start one because look at
Yeah.
what they grow to. I mean, I feel like it's just like untapped. It's there. Like there's women that ride everywhere. We just need to get
Yeah.
together and just start. I mean, the guys do it. Why can't we?
Exactly, exactly. I have like I have a group in North Dakota because I started a page in North Dakota when I moved there. And like unfortunately it's a very small group of people that ride
Oh,
in North Dakota just because there's not a whole lot of people that live in North Dakota. So if you assume that about 1% of the population is dirt bikers, almost all of them then are in that Facebook group now.
oh.
Um,
At least it's
but
there.
it's really yeah, but it's really cool because the percentage of women, uh, that ride in North Dakota is actually higher because even though, like, the number isn't, like, super high, it's still the percent of who actually is there. So I went to this race in North Dakota a few weeks back, and, I wanna say there was, like, 2 or 3 women in, like, the AB, and then no, there was 6 of us in the AB,
Nice.
and then there was 2 or 3 women in the open A. I was in the women's, and then I think there was 2 in the C class.
That's
So, it
awesome.
doesn't sound like a lot, but for the
That's
amount of people who were there, I think there was like 115 or something like that total. So, that's pretty decent amount of women to be showing up,
yeah.
and
We
they're
don't even get that in
badasses.
Arizona. Yeah.
Like, yeah. It's super cool, like, Amy Dahl, I don't know if you've seen her on social media.
Sounds familiar.
Highly, highly recommend you follow her if you
Write
don't.
that down.
She yeah, she's so awesome. She's a sweetheart on top of the fact that she rides so freaking well. Oh my god, she's such a powerhouse.
Love it.
Like, it's incredible, and I actually hadn't ever ridden with her, and then I'm at this race, and she raced the open B, and she made it look like cake. That was the hardest thing I've ever ridden.
Nice.
I've ridden like some hard enduro stuff, but like this was just totally out of my element. It was like it rained for like the whole night before that. And so it's just the single track off camber. And there was a lot of like downhill switchbacks, and I've never done that before. So I was like struggling hardcore. But watching this girl go through everything, she made it look like so easy. She's so natural on a bike. And like I said, she's just one of the sweetest people. Like,
That's
it's
awesome.
incredible. She's amazing. But yeah, just all of the women though that are there, like every single one of them I got to talk to, and they were just so nice and
Yeah.
just so welcoming because I had met Amy once before that, and I drove from Tennessee to North Dakota to go do that race,
Wow.
and like, I felt super out of my element. I was like, I'm all alone, like, I don't really know people, and everybody treated me like I belonged. Like, everybody was so nice. The women were all talking to me. After the race, like, I didn't finish, um, because it was just, like, murdering me. But
Gotta listen to
I
your
was
body.
pushing. I was pushing hard and,
Yeah.
I was, like, trying to figure it out and, but anyway, so I got done and I come out at the end and all the women are like, "You did so good," like, and they were just cheering me on even though I didn't finish, and it was so cool. It was like, "This is awesome." Like, this is why I love our women's communities. So,
Yep.
like,
For
it's
sure.
incredible. But but unfortunately, North Dakota doesn't have the numbers to start like a women's only group.
Yeah.
But but I think that a lot of the women from that area follow the Pacific Northwest stuff. So just because it's not even that far. I know like Amy goes to Idaho to go ride all the time. So
Which there's some fast girls out of Idaho too. So I mean, and when I went to the Hare and
mhm.
Hound a couple years ago in Idaho, I totally got smoked by that girl. She was a local, and she just like it was cold and I was freezing, and she just blew by me. So I think, I mean, even like there's like that. There's a Southwest Women's Motorcycle Alliance or something. So like,
Yeah.
there's area like even if okay, your state doesn't have you know a big enough group, at least try the area because I guarantee you, like,
Yeah.
there's people in the surrounding area that you can at least link up with, and if they're ever
Yeah.
traveling through, then like I've had so many girls from out of state reach out to me and say, "Hey, like I'm traveling through, can I meet up with you?" And I'm like, "Yes," and join this Arizona women's group. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's just having that
Yep, and
resource there.
that's how I ended up in the Arizona group. Because, like I said, I'm from Arizona, but I learned to ride in the Minnesota area.
Yeah,
Um, so I joined the Arizona group when I knew I was gonna be coming back through again so I could try and find people to ride with, and so it's been really cool because, like I said, I wanna end up back in Arizona eventually. I'm just not ready to settle down quite yet. I like this contract work that I do, it's given me really great opportunities to go to new areas, ride new areas, meet tons of new people. And so far, I've gotten really lucky to be really close to a lot of the hard enduros.
yeah.
So it just worked out.
That's really nice, and if that's what you're pursuing, then I mean, that's
Yeah,
cool because they are far, and that's the challenge is like, if you're pursuing that series, you're traveling a lot, and
a
the
lot.
travel really
Yeah.
cuts into the year. I know even for the Hare and Hound, we had, obviously, like, I'm Northern Arizona, but we have Southern California, we have Southern Utah, we had Idaho, we had Nevada, and I think there was one in Reno, but I ended up not doing that one. So yeah, it's the
Mhm.
traveling. I totally get it. Like the Idaho trip absolutely killed me because it was so intensive on the travel. So
Yeah. Yeah, it is so much. And like, I do it all by myself, so it's just
that's
like
hard.
if I'm gonna go somewhere, I'm leaving Friday, I'm driving straight through. Or like when I went to this race in North Dakota, I took a couple extra days off. It took 24 hours to drive to North Dakota. And
Oh
then
my
I
gosh.
got there, I had a day to like rest, and then I did the race. And immediately when the race was done, I loaded my bike, turned around, and I had to come back because I had to be back by Monday at 4 a.m. when work started.
Ugh.
Well, thank God I didn't wait any longer because I ended up running into bad weather and traffic. And it ended up taking me like, I think it was like 34 hours to get home. So
Oh
I
my
didn't even get a
gosh.
chance to come back to my apartment. I had to go straight to work and
That
I
is
hadn't
incredible.
slept.
I would have fallen. I would have just died. Like I can't do that. I don't. I build
I was at
in.
work and I was I was like, I haven't slept. Like, I didn't have time to stop anywhere even because like usually I'll just sleep in the back of my car. I think I slept once for like an hour.
That's not
Um,
enough.
but yeah, it was enough to get me through. But like, yeah, it was a lot. I was at work and I was like, I'm so tired. We work with really sharp blades, so I was like, if I fall asleep, just make sure my head doesn't hit the blade.
Oh my god. Yeah, I always build in time to my race days because the day after, I am useless for real. Like there has been times where I didn't even want to go to work the next day, and it's like,
Oh
so
yeah.
I don't know how you do that. But yeah, the travel is a hard piece. Before I broke my shoulder, I was supposed to go up to the ISDE qualifier in Reading,
Yeah.
and obviously didn't make it because I had broken myself the weekend before.
Mhm.
But if I had to hurt myself there too, like when you're alone, I was supposed to go alone. So like
Yeah.
there's just so many factors in the travel piece that it's hard
Mhm.
for sure.
It is, and it gets scary, sometimes, and like I said, when I travel before coming to Tennessee, I was riding by myself a lot because I didn't have anybody, I couldn't find anybody to ride with, and that was sketchy.
That
It's
is sketchy.
it's
I don't do that.
it's not yeah, it's not super safe, but when I'm by myself, I don't do the stuff that I do with other people. When I'm by
Yeah.
myself, it's a lot of like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go up and down this hill, I'm gonna practice my clutch work, and I'm gonna," safe things for
Mhm.
the most part safe. Um, but it's just a different experience, but that's I'm, like, so happy being here in Tennessee, and, like, there's so many people in the community around here to ride with, and it's so awesome, and there's been a lot of women. I've been really fortunate. I had actually ended up making friends with somebody when I was at a clinic down here in April, I think. I literally met her for, like, 35 minutes, and then I went up to Maine and she had me on social media and she happened to be going to Maine to go see her sister, I think her sister. Um, and she's like, "Hey, is there anywhere cool to ride up there?" And I was like, "Yeah, there's a couple spots." And she's like, "So if I bring my bike, do you want to ride?" And I was like, "Yeah, that'd be cool." And, like I said, I never really hung out with her before, but she wanted to ride. So I was like, "Yeah, I'll take you to this place that I know." And it was so cool because then we ended up being like very similar levels of riding. And so it just worked out super awesome. We were
Love
able
that.
to get through some like stuff that had scared me. I wasn't sure I wanted to try and explore more because it could have gotten super sketchy. It turned out it wasn't super sketchy. It was just like visually intimidating.
Mhm.
Um but because she was with me, I was willing to explore more. And then I just happened to get my next contract down here in Tennessee, and she lives like a couple hours away. So I was riding with her like almost every weekend when I first moved here.
That's
So I
awesome.
was like,
That's great.
this is the coolest thing ever. And then now I've met other people and a couple other women, like another woman who I'm riding with. This will be the second weekend in a row that we get to ride together. So I'm super stoked. Like just just having people has just been really cool. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like a super sheltered kid. I'm like, "Oh my god, I have friends."
I have friends. I say the same thing. I'm like, you guys are just all my friends by default because we ride together. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, I have friends.
Exactly, exactly.
I do hope you end up in Arizona though, because I mean, I'm always down to ride at whatever level. And I don't do a
Yes.
lot of hard enduro anymore. At one point, I was really interested in it. I had gotten
Yeah,
myself the number for the series. I had every intention to race one, but it just didn't work out time and travel wise and cost. They are very expensive. And then
yeah,
when you do break your, when, not if, when you do break your bike at this level, it's expensive to fix. So
yeah.
I was kind of keeping my two stroke around for that purpose, but just
Mhm.
haven't gotten around to it yet. I kind of refuse to race grinding stone because it's so high
It's so
consequence.
gnarly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like there's a lot of stuff that like I would love to try, but the consequence really just deters me. And so even though there is a hard enduro in my state, and it's only like 2 hours from where I live, so it's
yeah,
close. I haven't yet. I think if anything, I was gonna try Donner first. Maybe one
yeah,
of these days I'll get myself out there if I still have my two stroke. But yeah, I've really been focusing on more of the enduros. I actually really do like technical trails and obstacles, but straight up bike bashing hard enduro, I have kind of shied away from. Yeah, my
yeah,
fiance used to be really into it as well. He never raced or anything. He would just we've got some areas near my house where we can go out and just do some gnarly lines and he was breaking things on his bike left and right. And he's like, this is a little expensive. Like, I think I'm gonna take a break. So we kind of haven't been doing that, but I'm still down to ride technical stuff, and I've got
yeah.
plenty of places I could show you in Arizona. So
Yes, I love it. I love it. Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait.
yeah,
Like, it's so sad because I feel like I have been on the East Coast since March. Um, and on some portion of it from Georgia all the way to Maine and back. And yeah, it's kind of started to feel very homey out here. But at the same time, I'm like, I know as soon as I get back to Arizona, like I'm just gonna fall back into it. It's just gonna be like the desert is where I was born. Like that's
Yeah.
where I always like feel kind of at peace. But I haven't done a ton of desert riding. I have never ridden in like the Flagstaff area. I really want to. Um, but I'm just excited to explore more, and
Yeah.
it'll
Oh,
be
there's so
super,
much
super
here.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't wait. It's gonna be awesome. So, since we're talking about me and my travels, where I've gone, I wanna know, so if you could go anywhere in the world, if it was all expenses paid and you don't have to worry about paying for a bike or anything like that, where do you wanna go?
So I'm a fan of the ISD 6 days, and I thought last
Mhm.
year's Argentina, if it weren't hot, I think that looked so cool to me because a lot of people were talking about how, oh, it reminded me of Lucerne Valley, because there's a few guys that raced it that are big into like the Hare and Hound series, and I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I love that terrain. Like desert terrain to me is the most fun to ride. It's some of the scariest, I think, because it's just like unforgiving,
Yeah.
especially with the speed, right? But yeah, I mean, I haven't even touched the surface of the United States. Like I just got to go ride the Chimney Rock Enduro, which was I think it was the Chimney Rock like recreation area or something, but it's near Moab, and those
Mhm.
trails are closing, and it's like
Yeah.
I feel like I'm so like I overwhelmed with the amount of trails in the US that we have and that, may close that like anywhere like I love Utah. I haven't gotten to ride a lot of Moab yet. Um some of the trails in NorCal like Donner, all that. Like I want to really explore, especially like I love the West Coast. So like Colorado,
Yeah.
Utah, NorCal, some of the trails in Idaho. I'd really like to get the chance. I know it's kind of a silly answer when it's like anywhere in the world, right? But I think the home trails are the most appealing to me because it's like there's that chance to go back,
Yeah.
and just add
Yeah.
it to that
No.
arsenal of cool trails. Like, oh, let's go take a trip out to here for a week and just bring the toy hauler and just live out of that and ride every single day. Like, I think that's cool. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have very many like destination places. I'm not a huge traveler. I'm kind of a homebody. I do really like staying home. I do like riding local trails. I'm totally happy riding the same trails 500 times. But yeah, I do have a lot of exploring to do, especially with like um, southern Utah and southern Colorado being so close to me. Like I do want to
Yeah.
explore those more because I don't ever go that way, and I'm like, why not? The only times I
Yeah.
do are for races, and they're fun, but I'm like, I want to go back and explore them.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. I wanna go everywhere. So,
Yeah.
like, I've ridden I don't remember if it's 12 or 13 states now.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I want to ride in every state. I originally, it was by the end of 2025. I don't know if I'm gonna hit that. We'll see.
That's a
That's the
lot of
goal.
traveling.
It is, but when you move every 13 weeks for work, I
Hmm.
mean, it's kind of, I hit 3 or 4 states while I was in this area. I hit 3 states, 4 states while I was in the Northeast. So, um, it kind of works out, this traveling thing,
That's so
for
cool.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
I
it's
want to kind of
nice.
expand my racing. Like I kind of touched on this earlier, but I've
Mhm.
rarely committed to one series. I've kind of just found myself liking to go hit these one-off races and just to see the area, just to ride in the state. So like there's a couple in
Yeah,
Texas that I have my eye on for next year. Some more in Colorado. I heard there's like a couple in Wyoming that sound really fun. Um, so that's kind of my game plan is to pursue these like one-off enduros where I can just show up and have a blast and then go home.
yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. I rode in Wyoming. I mean, this was 2020, I think it was. And it was just I was brand new. But
Yeah.
oh my god, it was gorgeous out there.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what racing is like out there. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a tough one too because I found with this Chimney Rock Enduro that I did,
Mhm.
it was a really cool race, but it was on slick rock. So for me, it was really hard to like adjust to reading that terrain at race pace.
Yeah.
So like I said, I pretty much trail rode. Like my friend that I race with all the time and I chase him down all the time. He went out there with us and I was behind him in the test lineup for a while and he'd get through and then he'd wait for me and there he kept going like, "What's wrong? Like what happened?" And I'm like, "Nothing. I'm just slow." So like that does present itself as a challenge when you're traveling the race, especially in like unfamiliar terrain. And I kept finding myself like, man, I really wish I wasn't racing right now so I could like stop and enjoy this and like
Yeah.
take it all in because it was gorgeous. I mean, the area was just, you know how you I don't know if you know how Utah is, but it is just it's
Mhm.
incredible,
Yeah.
scenic and
It's
different.
it's unreal. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just it's just I ran into that for the first time at this last race, and I was like, but I still think it's fun. I mean, the race being at these different venues, it kind of motivates me to leave. Like I said, I'm like, I like to stay home. I don't like to travel. I don't like to like,
Yeah.
but if there's a race, like, okay, I'll drive 9, 10, 12, 13 hours. All right, whatever.
It's funny how that's such like a motivation though, like,
Yeah.
"Alright,
Yeah.
you're gonna involve my dirt bike? Alright, fine." Like, I wake up at 2:45 every morning for work, and I hate
Oh,
every
wow.
second of it, but then last weekend, I knew I was gonna have to be up not quite as early, but I knew I was gonna have to be up early to be able to get out to ride when I needed to, and I was like, "Alright." I woke up at 2:45 just naturally, and I was like,
Yeah.
if
Time
I
to
leave
go.
now, I'm gonna only be, like, 3.5 hours early, so
Wow. Yeah,
alright, I'm
I've
gonna leave
I've
now,
noticed
but
that. Yeah. For work, I'm like sleeping to the last moment, but then dirt bikes, like we're
yeah,
up instantly. Like it's just
exactly.
if it involves the dirt bikes, I'm in.
It's a totally different motivation.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, kinda touching on motivation, going back to way at the beginning when we started talking,
Yeah.
um, you talked about staying in shape, uh, and I kinda wanted to touch on that, like, what does your workout routine look like, especially, like, when you are chasing the series, I guess, like, as you're gonna go back into it next year? Like, how are you gonna get ready for that? And, like, what does your nutrition look like, with that?
Yeah, I love this question.
Mhm,
So my strong season was 2022.
mhm,
And kind of what it was a catalyst. I had a beautiful young black German Shepherd puppy. He was my boyfriend and I's like first dog together, and he passed away like tragically, unexpectedly, and it like absolutely
mhm.
ruined me. But then I used that as like motivation for me to go on, right? And
Yeah,
I was like, I got to do this for something. Like I got to be the best version of myself because I no longer have this. I don't have kids, and like this dog was like my kid, and
yeah,
so losing
yeah,
him was like it was very hard. But I took all that and just drove it into the 2022 season, and was
mhm,
I was doing a workout program. It was called Fit for Racing, and it's this, I believe, British guy. He does it mostly for mountain biking, but it was the most
mhm,
intense workouts I have ever done in my life. Like 2 hours in the gym, and it was like half of it was intense cardio, like high intensity stuff, and then the rest of it was weights. So I was like
mhm.
kicking my ass every day in the gym before work. And I also work like a very full day and have a big commute. So like I was getting up early doing that. Um, I think 3 to 4 times a week and then training riding on the weekend, just this like constant cycle.
Yeah.
And that put me in amazing shape for the Heron Hounds, and that was part of the reason why I think I was doing so well is because like a lot of that was just fitness, like just being able to
Yeah.
ride for that long. Like I didn't have to be the fastest, I just had to like be the most prepared, and um, that obviously worked really well for me. But what it also did was like make it more of a chore um, than something I was enjoying. Um,
Mhm.
so I had people on the outside saying like, like you're not seeming like you're having fun with this. Like it seems like it's more of a job to you, like a
Yeah.
chore, something that you're forced to do. And I kind of
Yeah.
realized that I got in touch with that. And at this time, I have every intention to start working out again. I'm not currently doing a routine or anything. I ride every weekend. So that's like good maintenance for me at this point. I have a pretty solid nutrition. Like I only eat whole foods, and I cook
Mhm.
my own like very healthy meals. So that's kind of what I'm working with right now on kind of like a maintenance type agenda. I'm not so much like trying to push peak performance.
Mhm.
I'm a I'm a civil engineer in training, so I'm studying for licensure right now, which is intense. I mean, it's like an 8-hour exam, and it's all the
Yeah.
stuff that I learned back in college that I don't practice every day. So a lot of it's like reteaching myself these intense engineering subjects. So that's taking up a lot of my time right now. Um,
Mhm.
I'm planning a wedding for November 2025. So I just like the things on my plate right now are huge.
Yeah.
So as far as like a workout and performance thing, I'm not where I want to be, but I do intend to like get back on the wagon for 26. So 25 probably going to be another maybe questionable year for me in terms of like what I end up doing, if I can commit to a whole series or not. We'll see. I'm not stopping racing anytime soon because I love it. But
Yeah.
as far as like how hard I'm gonna hit it, I'm not sure yet. But I do also, like with the wedding coming up, like I plan on being in shape for that. So like I have this workout plan that I'm planning on getting back into and pursuing. Just casual maintenance.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's a lot of stuff on your plate.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yep.
know from experience that can get very overwhelming very quickly. So,
Mhm.
kudos to you, and I'd be
Thank
very
you.
interested to see how you keep your sanity because,
Yeah. I think
like,
staying busy keeps my sanity, honestly. I like
yeah,
I like having things to do, and I like being busy. I I'm not a couch potato. Like I find myself antsy when I have nothing to do, so I'd rather have the
mhm,
latter. Um, but yeah, I for me, racing and dirt bikes is my fun. It's my play. I don't want it to ever become uh the chore that it was becoming that year after my dog passed. So I kind of just I made that a promise to myself, like you know, and it's hard, right? Because I'm competitive. I would love to just hit it full force. If I weren't working full time and doing all these other things, I think that's what I would be doing for sure. But
yeah.
unfortunately, these bikes don't pay for themselves. And I currently have two 350s and a 252 stroke. So obviously, I have a problem and buy way too many bikes. So I need to keep
I don't
working.
know if that's a problem. I don't
Yeah,
consider that a problem.
I know. I'm like, that could have worse problems, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think long-term future, I could probably ramp it up as things maybe settle down with life. But I always say that, and then instead of things settling down, I just take on more work, and then schedule gets busier. So we'll just play it by ear. But I'm always gonna have fun and love it.
That's good. That's the important part.
Hmm. Hmm. And that
Aw,
kind of ties in like my competitiveness is
yeah,
from a fun place. Like I'm not gonna hate you if you beat me. Like it'll I enjoy that process, like, of getting
yeah,
my ass kicked, like, and I look up to the people that do excel in this sport. So like I always hear stories of people like having trauma and being catty or like having these conflicts at racing. And from one point I get it, but for me personally, like I love it, and I don't want it to become a source of negativity in my life. Like this is like the most positive
Yeah.
thing that I work with.
Yeah, no, I think you have a really good mindset about it, and I think that's one of the biggest things, especially like we talked about resilience and everything as you're going through all this hard stuff. You have a lot on your plate, but you seem to think about it in a really positive and healthy way, and I really admire that. I think
Thank
that's
you.
really
Yeah.
really awesome. So,
Thanks.
I'm super stoked to keep social stalking you and
I love that.
seeing
Same
how it
here.
all goes. Like, it's so awesome.
I try to keep the socials updated, one for people who care. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like some people care, and I honestly don't care if people don't care. A lot of it's for me too. Like I use my
Yeah.
socials as almost like a diary of my racing career. So I post the good, I post the bad. I try to be
Yeah.
transparent in myself and not just like fabricate some image, but you will
Yeah.
still see posts from me for
Yeah.
sure.
No, I love it. Like I said, I love the real, especially, like, as somebody who's learning. I've had a lot of experience around, like, the clinic setting, and I've noticed that women, as we're learning, tend to be really, really hard on ourselves, and,
Yes.
like, I've seen women literally start bawling because they fell over in class, like, right when we first started, and it's like, "Hey, it's okay." They're like,
Okay.
"No, I swear I'm not this bad, and, like, I just wanna be good," and, like, just get so overwhelmed and in our heads, and
Mhm.
it I don't know why we do that to ourselves, but it's really easy, at least for me, to fall back
Yeah,
into, like, and
absolutely.
so I feel like showing the realness, showing the falls, showing the struggle, or at least talking about it, um, it just gives grace to other women that they can give that to themselves. Like they can see, hey, she's falling, so it's okay when I do too.
Mhm.
Or like I absolutely love when, the top riders post when they fall. Like, doesn't happen
Yeah.
often, but,
Oh, it happens.
like, but
It
like
happens a
today,
lot more than you think.
yeah, like today, Jarvis posted something of he was like doing something and he fell and he posted that. And I'm like, that, like, you have no idea how good that is for people to see because it's
Yep.
like, especially at that level, like people put you on a certain tier. But
Yeah.
even like I said, I have people at my level who want to ride with me and women who are like, "Oh my god, you're so good." First of all, no. Second of all, like it doesn't matter. Like I still fall all the time and I'm probably gonna fall all the time because my bike is too tall and I can't ever put my foot down right. So like
We're all
I
on this
like
journey, right? Like we're all figuring
exactly.
it out and we all have our low points. I have low points all the time. I'm such a mental rider that if I'm not on the right mindset, I'm not going to ride well and like it'll show absolutely. So like we're human and I just try not to lose sight of that, like being real is
Yeah.
important and not putting yourself on some high horse and thinking you're better than other people or whatever. It's just part of
Yes.
my day to day and yeah, that's yep, you hit the nail on the head like we all have bad days.
Yeah. Well, and I think that there's a difference between confidence and like humility. I
Totally.
think that the best people in this community all the way to the top um are they're all humble people. Like, I mean, I always think it's kind of crazy because I have heard Tristan Hart on so many interviews where he's like, I didn't ride well today. And I'm like, dude, what? Like,
I
what?
think the last two enduro cross rounds, he said that at the end of the race and he
Yeah.
had first overall. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
how
just
much
like
better can you get?
win, 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 win. Oh, I didn't ride very well. Like, like
On a much
what?
lower level, I'm guilty of the same thing. I mean, we were talking
Mhm.
about Leah earlier, and her and I are constantly texting, and we were talking about Takade, and I said something about how like, "Oh, I'm slow," and she's like, "Okay," says the person who like wins all the time, and I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." Like, I need to give myself credit sometime, but at the same
Yeah.
time, like I have such high expectations for myself. Like, yeah, I can be quick, but like I want to be. There's so much more that I want to accomplish. So
Yeah.
it's a hard balance between like, yeah, recognize what you've done already, but don't lose sight of like what you could be.
I think what's really, really the coolest thing, honestly, about it is that so I totally get like like you have a goal for yourself, right? So you have that, so you're hard on yourself. But I think sometimes to the outside world, it comes off as I'm hard on myself, so I'm going to be hard on everybody who is around me. I'm going to
Yeah.
judge everybody to that same standard. And that's not the case. Like, again, every single person that I've talked to, all the way up to pro level, who is like that on themselves, they're so not like that with other people.
Yep.
And I have these friends who are pro riders and that are just like cheering me on at my little tiny baby level. And they're just like, dude, that was so awesome. But they get so hard on themselves. And I'm like, how, like, you're funny. You're real funny. But I also, like I said, I didn't grow up in this world. I didn't grow up in a competitive world. I didn't do stuff like that. So for me, like it's been kind of hard, again, going back to the psychology thing, it's been kind of hard to like learn what it is in people who are like hyper competitive, like how that works for them, but how they're able
Mhm.
to like have that switch where it only works for them and not for other people. And they're just like totally fantastic about everybody else. And they're only pushing themselves to the level. I guess it's really a positive thing, not a negative thing, because they're pushing themselves like you push yourself to a level that you know you can get to or that you want to get to. And it's
Right.
like, making sure you meet your own standard, I guess.
Yeah. And for me, it's a standard that is always going to be set 10 steps ahead of, at least 10 steps ahead of where I'm at. So it's like one of those like
Yeah.
constant like yeah, okay, in the last year I've gotten way better as a rider, and I can ride things that I could not even look at 2 years ago. But it's still
Yeah.
not enough, like, and I think it's kind of like a love-hate thing. Like sometimes it's frustrating that I'm hard on myself, but at the same time, like I like we talked about earlier, I love the chase. Like I love that
Yeah.
pursuit of greatness, pursuit of speed, pursuit of improvement, self-improvement.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
do, I push other people. Like if I've got some friends that, I'll say like, "Hey, like I know you're capable of this.
Mhm.
Stop telling yourself you're not." So like I'll push other people, but I never want it to be to a point that it's like to what I'm doing to myself, you know?
Where
It's
it's
like,
negative. Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. And it's hard because everybody takes things a different way.
Yeah.
Um, but I like I said, when you get into like these women's only groups, there's something about it being women that we just kind of like don't take things the wrong way as much. Some of us still do, but
I've had really
it's
great experiences with the women's groups. It's like
yeah,
there's some weird like connection that we have.
yeah. And I don't know if it's a communication thing because we all communicate so much better than like, men to women. Um Again, don't get me wrong, there are some amazing men out there. I have worked with a lot of amazing guys who can communicate effectively, but that is not the overall experience for women when it
Yep.
comes to dirt bikes.
Yep.
The more common experience that women have is, "Oh, my boyfriend was yelling at me and he doesn't like he's just telling me that I need to just do it and like I'm just trying to understand why." And it's just I don't know if it's because we tend to explain things a little bit more um or what it is, but giving that little bit of critique, it doesn't seem to ever come off negative in these spaces. And
Yeah.
I think that that's really good for building confidence um for women, and then that turns around. a woman builds confidence in this setting, she's able to turn around and take that confidence to her next ride with her significant other who maybe is
Yeah.
just getting a little frustrated, you know? And maybe it goes a little bit better and it's helpful. So
Yeah, and
I
on
just
behalf
think,
of the guys, I know several of my guy friends have said, like, to me, they're like, "We don't know what you want, like, do I offer to help you, or does that come off
yeah,
as, like, mansplaining?" Or, like, they're so afraid to, like,
yeah,
offend us, so sometimes there's that extreme to where they're like, they don't wanna help us because they think that we're just gonna get mad at them for
yeah,
telling us, what they think is right, and, I usually they have good intentions, but, like,
yeah,
sometimes we do take it wrong. Like, I know when I used to ride with just my boyfriend, like, I would get a lot more frustrated with, like, him trying to explain something to me because it was like it just naturally felt, condescending, right? And it's like, no, like he was just trying to help, but I'm over here embarrassed because I can't make it up this little silly obstacle and I'm all flustered and then it just kind of blows up in all of our faces. So when we see the girls doing it, it's just like this positive, like rainbows and butterflies, like, you got this, it's okay. And like nobody's getting mad.
yeah.
It's great.
It's so weird. I don't know what it is about the boyfriend, girlfriend, or
Yeah.
significant other dynamic in general. It is
Hmm.
like almost a universal thing. Like, I think I've met 2 women who are like, "Oh, no, my husband was great. He taught me fantastic." And, like, but most of the time, it's, "Oh my god, he loses his temper, like, he gets so frustrated." And it's like, or it's I get frustrated because he's just, like, making me feel like I'm dumb, and it's like,
Yep.
I don't know why, because I had the exact same thing,
Yeah.
but I don't know why we go to that place, like, I don't know what it is, because this is the person you're supposed to be, like, trusting
Like,
the
yeah.
most,
Yeah, you're
and
like, you have the
it's
best
like,
relationship, and it's like, but
yeah,
I think,
because
yeah,
like,
it comes from a place of like they get flustered because they want to help, but they know that they're not doing it right, or they recognize that they're pissing you off, and then you're getting pissed off because you're embarrassed, and it's just like this mess.
it's crazy, because then, like, I've had some of the guys where, like, we're in a group, and they explain to me, and they help me through things, and I think that they're great, and
Yeah.
then their girlfriend or wife or whatever back at the campfire that night is like, "Oh, he's terrible, he made me feel like crap when we were out on the trail." I'm like, "What?" Like,
Yeah,
he's fantastic.
it's just a boyfriend girlfriend, it's that man woman relationship dynamic that just it's just like for dirt bikes, I'm like, "Hey, I'll teach your wife how to ride so that she can figure it out and then you guys can ride
Never
together."
learn never learn from your significant other.
Yeah. It like 9 to 9.5 times out of 10, it's gonna be
Mhm.
a lot more negative of experience than what you would want a first dirt bike experience to be.
Yeah, well, and a lot of times people get into this, they're trying to do it to have something to do together, and then it
Yeah.
becomes this like friction point, and it's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
all of a sudden she doesn't want to do it anymore, and like it's totally understandable, but it's just like if I can help somebody get through that and feel comfortable, then I want to do it. And again,
Yeah.
going back to why I think these women's events are so important, just so we can have this space for learning and just like feeling good. And then again, not saying all guys are like that, but we just need that space sometimes to
I
to
can
build each other up and give. I kind of try to think of it as like giving extra confidence so that when they go back to the real world, it's just like they have this like level of confidence instead of like being way down here. So,
That's a great way to put it. I completely agree. It's just, yeah, it's awesome. And you can really just like this last one that I had, we had prizes, we had games, we had the local dealership brought us a Stark Varg to play around on. Like you can just
ooh,
do so much and just have such a fun event, and it's relaxed, like it's cool, like it's just the girls, and we did a potluck, so I know that I'm pretty sure that the one you're going to in November will have a potluck, and just a great opportunity to meet people and like
yeah,
ease out of those like jitters, from like not knowing people or not knowing if you're gonna have fun with the guys or if there's gonna be weird tension. So yeah, they're important.
Or knowing the trail in this
Yeah.
case, because I haven't
Yeah.
been on this portion of mile markers before, so it's gonna be completely new to me, and that's always the thing. Like, I just did this, yesterday. I was talking to a friend about going riding next weekend, and I was telling him he's, a hard enduro rider, he's an A-class rider, and he's really good, and it's him and his buddies that I'm gonna go with, and I was like, just so you know, like, I pick up my own bike. Like, you guys don't have to wait for me. Just like, make sure that like I get back to the parking lot. And he's like, no, we're gonna take it easy. Like, we're gonna help you. And I was like, okay, well, just know I don't expect that. But
Yeah.
immediately I go back to that place and I'm just like, they didn't even say
They
anything
didn't
about
say
that. Like,
anything. Yeah.
no, they didn't say anything about it. They didn't ever make me feel that way. It's just I've had bad experiences in the past, and so it's like my immediate defense mechanism. And it's
I'm
like,
the same way. Yeah, I don't
I
ever
mean,
want
raw.
to be yeah, I don't ever want to be like the burden, especially since like
Yeah.
I present myself as somebody who can ride with the guys, right? So like the guys
Yeah.
aren't picking each other's bikes up, so like I better be picking my own shit up too. So
Yeah.
I've always tried and to an extent, right? Like I won't get mad if somebody helps me, but at the same time,
Yeah.
I would get mad at myself if I did become that, you know, liability to the group. Um,
Yeah.
so I've always made sure that in a normal situation, if I tip over, like I'm able to pick my own bike up and I'm able to fix my own stuff just so that I am invited back on more rides and these guys will let me come along with them more.
Yeah.
So it's just that another weird like fine line that you have to balance like um and I work on my own bike so like I'm confident in that I'm not worried about um, just having stuff break and then I don't know what to do, help me, so it doesn't become like fix Emma's bike day. So I'm confident in that and I kind of figured out the little tips and tricks for like making the bike do the work. And I always try to teach girls this. They're like, oh my gosh, it's such a big heavy bike. Like, how do you move it? How do you pick it up? How do you put it um, into your truck bed or whatever, into your van? And I'm like,
Yeah.
you have to learn the balance points of the bike. You have to make the motor do the work for you. And I just like, this is
Mhm.
something I've always tried to teach women on, especially because they're intimidated by this big giant 250-pound bike or whatever.
Yeah.
And most of us are like, I weigh like 150, so it's like 100 pounds on me. Like I've got to figure out how to whip this bike around and make it do what I want to do. So that's another obstacle that the girls have to get around and learn how to work in their favor. And I'm not saying there's guys that don't have that problem too, because I know plenty of short, small guys that ride and they're excellent riders. But as women, we generally have like less muscle mass and a harder time with energy and strength, and we just have to work so much harder. So kudos
Yeah.
to the girls.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I was just going to say that I think that that's another thing that is great about women being around each other is because we are built more similarly. I mean, we still have different builds and everything, but we have that same kind of range of muscle mass and everything. And I love the fact that most of the women that I've been meeting are short. So, because I'm only 5 feet tall, so
I'm 5'7",
meeting,
so I'm on the tall side. Not
yeah,
tall, but it helps. That 7 inches helps.
yeah, dude. I even like I used to have this friend who was like 5'2", and I'm like, I would kill to be 5'2". Like
Yeah.
5'2" is my goal height. Like
Hmm.
it's funny. I sent Leah this thing the other day of these exercises that this guy was doing, and it supposedly made him 2 inches taller. And I
There
was
you
like,
go.
oh my god, I could be 5'2". She started laughing. She's like, you better get to it. She's like, then you don't have to lower your bike.
That's so funny. Yeah, I always look at like tall girls and I'm like, that don't ride dirt bikes. And I'm like, you'd be a really good dirt biker. Like, I'm jealous of your
Everyone with
height.
long legs. Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone with long legs, I'm always like, "You."
Do you
But
dirt bike? Because if
especially,
not, you
like,
should.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're a waste of talent if you're not riding. Like, just go do it. You can ride my
Yeah.
bike.
Yep.
I offered that last week. It was so funny. There was this guy. I'm trying to remember where the heck it was. It had to have been. Oh, it was at Doe Mountain. We were cleaning, and one of the guys, he's like, I think he said he's like 6'5" or 6'6". And he's like, "Can I ride your bike?" And I was like, "Yeah, go for it." He goes, "No, I'm gonna drop it." And I just laughed. And I was like, "Dude, I've probably dropped it like 6 times today." I was like, first of all, don't care about that. Second of all you gotta do is put your leg a little bit down and you're gonna stand up right off of it. So like you're not gonna get hurt, and that's the only thing I care about. So and
I
so he went over and sat on it, and his knees were like in his face, and I was like, I ride a full size bike.
Yep. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've went to put my foot down and there was nothing there and I tip over just
Yeah.
because I'm too short. And meanwhile, we have these
Mhm.
guys that are like 7 feet tall and they literally just stand and like can still ride their bike while standing on the ground. And it's like the weirdest thing, but it works. Like it,
Yeah.
all the tall guys I know are just naturally good at hard enduro.
Yeah. It's kind of ridiculous. I kind of
Yeah.
hate it. But at the same time, I'm just like, I think that's why hard enduro appeals to me so much because I've tried to never let my height really hold me back in life. I kind of try and push myself other than like I've told this story before. I used to really like basketball and uh then middle school hit and then everybody grew and I didn't.
Yeah.
So I didn't like
Basketball's a
basketball
tough
anymore
one.
after
Yeah.
that.
I was gonna
So that
say.
was the only one, because like, well, all my friends were guys and they were all like 6 feet tall. And so it's not like they were just a little bit taller than me. They were a lot taller than me. So
A whole
I was like,
foot.
basketball suddenly wasn't fun. So that's the only thing I let my height keep me from. But like when it came to like running and stuff like that, like your height can hold you back because you have short little legs. And I mean, there was a point in time where I was running a 6-minute mile, and that's really fast for how short I am.
That's fast
So,
for me.
like, yeah. So I looked like, do you remember in the cartoons, the Roadrunner when his legs would just spin in a
It's a
circle? That's what I felt
circle, yeah.
like.
It's just a little fan. Yeah, that's I'm
That
like
was
all legs, so
100%.
it it helps for dirt biking, and it's so funny looking back because like growing up, I hated it. I was like, I'm too tall for a girl. Like it's not cute and small and whatever. And like all the guy, I'm taller than all the guys. But of course, then they grow spurt and are way taller than me. But I look back and I'm like, now I wish I was taller. Like it's crazy how we grow and things change and our
Mhm.
priorities
Yeah, I
shift.
didn't
Because
grow,
yeah.
so
Right, literally.
yeah. But yeah, no, it totally does. I really wish that I had been just those couple inches taller would make my life so much easier. But I
Yeah,
think I've finally caved in, and I think my next purchase for the bike is gonna be a lowering kit. So,
I almost always don't recommend it, but when you are 5 feet, I would absolutely say. I mean, as long as you're not racing desert, I think a lowering kit is going to be like the best thing you do. Just because
yeah.
I most of the girls that I race with have a lowering link on their enduro bikes, so it's
Yeah.
super common. And I think the only time that it really matters, like I said, is if you're doing like high speed whoops, desert, like where you need that full suspension, or
Yeah.
motocross, where you obviously you're jumping, it's high impact. But for enduro, having the capability to touch the ground is huge. And none of my bikes are lowered, so like that has always intimidated me with hard enduro. Like
Yeah.
with my two stroke, it's a full size, it's not lowered. And then I would get on Leah's two stroke and be like, oh my gosh, this thing's tiny because it's lowered. And it's I was doing wheelies on it and then I broke her fender. So you just get more confidence with the lower seat height for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the thing is right now I just don't have enough seat time to be confident. So I think that it'll really help me at least for now. And if later I find that, I I'm having an issue with it or whatever, I can always just move it back. So,
Yeah, for sure,
like,
for sure.
it's not like I have to buy a brand new bike, although I might use it as an excuse because 'cause I'm that kind of person, but
If you're
we'll
around,
see.
especially, like, next winter, if you do end up
Mhm.
in, in Arizona, I would love to show you some of the spots that I've trained some, like, hard enduro technical stuff on, and
Yeah.
then even this winter, if you're around, or did I say this next winter? Yeah, so next summer if you're around, I've got some more
Yeah.
spots, but yeah, this winter when you are here, like, I definitely wanna ride with you and do some hard
Heck
enduro training.
yes. Yes, I need it for sure. I need to know more, all the things. I
And I
wanna
know,
learn.
like, there's a solid group of us that like just writing technical stuff, so, like, we could easily
Yeah.
get an all girls technical ride in, and that would be super cool.
Yes. Oh my god, I love it. I
Very exciting.
I'm so excited now. I'm not gonna be excited for the drive, but I'll be really excited for getting there.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool, I mean, community out here, so
Yeah.
I'm excited for you to get here, and then for you to go to the women's ride in November.
Yeah, it's gonna be a blast. It's gonna be very busy, but it's gonna be a blast.
That's life for me, so I get it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, I think that was all of the questions that I had for you. So in the last few minutes, do you want to give a shout out to anybody?
Oh my gosh. Literally everybody that has interacted with me in the last 4 years since I started this has left a huge, whether small or huge, has left an impact on my life, to get me where I'm at, to this moment. And I, I couldn't shout out one individual um, without feeling like I left out everybody else. Like,
Oh
whether
yeah.
you've ridden with me once or if you're part of my regular riding group, um, I I appreciate you for being in my life and get helping me get to where I'm at today.
That's awesome. Yay.
Yay.
Cool. I think it's really cool when people just like get built up by the support in their community. So I think
Yeah,
that's
I mean, I just being alone in this would be impossible because we all go through so much to get where we're at right now, and, like, I don't ride by myself a lot, but, like, I I love the social factor of, like, riding in groups, and we can all just,
yeah.
shoot the shit or talk crap about each other, and it's all in, like, it all comes from a good place, right? And it just, like, it's what I live for sure, like, I love it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Oh, I'm so excited to get out there.
Heck
This
yeah.
is great. I'm so glad
Cool.
that we did this. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know it gets hard to like navigate things with like work and everything, and you've got a lot on your plate. So I really, really appreciate your time.
I'm thankful that you have me on, and I would totally do this again if you asked. Although that's pretty much
Awesome.
it, like, I've laid everything out there, that's me, so, I mean,
Well,
maybe in
we
a
can
couple of
always
years
get
when
you back
I'm
on next year. I was gonna say when
yeah,
get a race report and see how things go.
for sure.
Awesome. Well, you have a great rest of your day, and we will talk to you later.
Thank you so much, you too.
All right. Bye.